please sit comfortably and try to follow these instructions, these guidance to the meditation. You can close your eyes. Now try to focus your attention to your eye. First we start with our eye. Now this eye is impermanent. Impermanent, impermanent. You know in details what is impermanent means. That is, when the eye arises, vanishes and changes. So this eye is impermanent, impermanent, impermanent. Now you see the sights through the eye. Whatever the sights, forms, or physical things you see through your eye, every of those sights are impermanent, impermanent, impermanent. Sights are changing, changing, changing. Now when you see a sight through the eye, the awareness arises. We call it eye consciousness. Eye consciousness arises dependent on the eye and the sight. This eye consciousness is also impermanent, impermanent, impermanent. Now when these three things come together, the eye, sight and the eye consciousness, the awareness arises in the eye consciousness. These three things come together, and that's the eye contact. This meeting of these three things, eye contact, is also impermanent, impermanent, impermanent. Why is that? Because the eye is changing, sights are changing, consciousness is changing. So this meeting of these three things are subjected to change. It's vulnerable to change. It's fragile. It's insubstantial. Contact is impermanent, impermanent, impermanent. Dependent on the contact, feelings arises. Whether it is pleasant feeling, painful feeling, or neutral feeling. Whatever the feelings arises dependent on the impermanent contact, feelings too impermanent, impermanent, impermanent. How come a impermanent contact bring up a permanent feeling? Thus, the feelings impermanent, impermanent, impermanent. Now try to bring your focus mindfully to your ear. Now this ear is impermanent, impermanent, impermanent. Whatever the sounds that I hear through the ear are impermanent, impermanent, impermanent. When the ear listens to a sound, the ear consciousness arises. The ear consciousness retrieves all the information in the sounds. But this ear consciousness is dependent on the ear and the sounds. So the ear consciousness is also impermanent, impermanent, impermanent. Coming together of these three things, ear, sounds and ear consciousness, to impermanent, impermanent, impermanent. Dependent on that ear contact, we feel whatever the sound brings to us. Pleasant feeling, unpleasant feeling, or neutral feeling. These feelings too, impermanent, impermanent, impermanent. How can we make a permanent feeling out of impermanent contact? Feelings regarding the sounds are impermanent, impermanent, impermanent. Now bring your focus to the nose. This nose is impermanent, impermanent, impermanent. Nose is subject to change. Eye smells, fragrances, odors, perfumes, scents, whatever in the outside, we smells. As long as the nose consciousness arises, we get to know these. So this awareness arises dependent on nose and the smells. As long as these two things are there, we get to know the awareness, bring up all the information. That nose consciousness is also impermanent, impermanent, impermanent. Now these three things come together. Nose contact, impermanent, impermanent, impermanent. Why is that? Because the nose is changing, smells are changing, nose consciousness is changing. So the contact of the nose is too changing, impermanent, impermanent, impermanent. Dependent on that nose contact, feelings arises. Sometimes we feel pleasant. Other times we feel unpleasant. We also feel neutral. These feelings too, impermanent, impermanent, impermanent. How can we make the feelings permanent when the contacts are impermanent? Contacts are so fragile, so impermanent. Contacts are changing really fast. Contacts are vulnerable to change. So the feelings, impermanent, impermanent, impermanent. Now bring the focus to the tongue. The tongue has an arising, has an vanishing at some point, and in between it's changing, impermanent, impermanent, impermanent. The tastes are impermanent, impermanent, impermanent. When there is tongue and when there are tastes, the tongue consciousness arises dependent on that too. This consciousness bridges, connects these two experiences, these two internal and external faculties, so that tongue consciousness is too impermanent, impermanent, impermanent. Coming together of these three things, tongue, taste, and the tongue consciousness, two, impermanent, impermanent, impermanent. Dependent on that tongue contact, we feel whatever there are. If there is a delicious food, we feel pleasant feeling. If there is a food that we dislike, we feel unpleasant. Sometimes we feel neutral. Whatever feelings occurs, they all are dependent on contact, not under my control. The contact brings the feeling. When there is impermanent contact, we can't achieve the permanent feelings. All the feelings dependent on the contact are impermanent, impermanent, impermanent. Now, bring your focus to the body. Now this body is also impermanent, impermanent, impermanent. We studied in the body meditation how much this body is decaying, changing. There are stages in this body. undergoes the change. That's because of impermanence. Now whatever the tangible objects or the tactile objects receives to the body are also impermanent. They come and go. Impermanent, impermanent, impermanent. There arises the awareness or the consciousness of the touch sensation inside the body, whatever the place this tactile object touches, so that body consciousness are dependent on the body and the tactile object. So it is too impermanent, impermanent, impermanent. Now when these three things come together, meet together, this collection of three things, body, the touch, and the body consciousness, impermanent, impermanent, impermanent. Out of impermanent contact, whatever we experiences as a feeling, whether it is pleasant, unpleasant, or neutral, they too are impermanent, impermanent, impermanent. Feelings last up until there is the tactile object, the body, or the support it receives through the consciousness. When those things changes, feelings goes away, not under my control. Feelings, impermanent, impermanent, impermanent. Now the mind. Focus to your mind. Simply think about the mind. This mind is impermanent, impermanent, impermanent. This mind changes really fast. It goes all over the senses because it's not permanent, because it is changing. Impermanent, impermanent, impermanent. The ideas, the mental objects, whether it is a memory, or visualization, or future anxieties, or sadnesses, whatever the hurtful memories that come to you as a mental object, they are too in a constant flux of change. They are changing, not forever. Impermanent, impermanent, impermanent. Now, when there is mind and an idea come to your mind, the awareness arises over the idea in your mind. That's a function in your mind, the mind consciousness. The moment that you realize that a thought came to your mind, that's the awareness. That awareness too is impermanent, impermanent, impermanent. Why is that? Because the mind changes. The ideas changes. How the mind consciousness is permanent. Now coming together of these three, mind, idea, and mind consciousness, these three things too are impermanent, impermanent, impermanent. When the mind contacts this coming together of these three things, if they are changing, how the feelings that arise as dependent on that contact will be everlasting. Whether it is pleasant, unpleasant, or neutral, whatever the feelings occurs, because of the contact, impermanent, impermanent, impermanent. These feelings of sorrow because of a hurtful memory lasts up until there is the contact. So the feelings are impermanent, impermanent, impermanent. Everything impermanent, impermanent, impermanent. My senses are impermanent, impermanent, impermanent. Those senses are changing. Those senses are impermanent. Whatever in the outside, in the external world that we interact in our day-to-day, all of these sense objects are changing, impermanent, impermanent, impermanent. And when consciousness arises instantly because of those internal and external objects, those consciousness are also impermanent, impermanent, impermanent. Now the contacts are being created each and every moment. So the contacts whatsoever are impermanent, impermanent, impermanent. Why is that? Because the contents in the contact is impermanent. When contacts are impermanent, whatever the feelings, there are only three feelings: happiness or pleasant feeling, neutral feeling, and unpleasant feeling. Whatever the feelings that may arise, two are impermanent, impermanent, impermanent. Out of impermanent contacts, how there arise permanent, forever, everlasting feelings? Whether it is pleasant feeling now I have, unpleasant feeling now I have, or neither pleasant nor unpleasant, which means neutral I have, are impermanent, 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 subject to change, constantly changing, impermanent, 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 impermanent. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.